What if I told you AI could show you exactly how rich or broke you'll be and when you'll actually be able to retire? I plugged my real numbers into ChatGPT and the results honestly shocked me. I'm going to show you how to create an actionable plan about when you could retire, how much money you'll need to retire, and the steps you need to achieve that goal. And if you're interested in using AI for your finances, download my AI Finance Starter Guide linked in the description. So first thing I'm going to do is just put in my real situation, saying I just moved from Canada to the United States and I had to liquidate all of my assets, which I did. Unfortunately, if you don't liquidate your assets when you immigrate, typically the United States is going to really, really tax all of those assets that you hold outside the country. So I had to liquidate all my assets. I don't know anything about retirement in the United States, or how to optimize investments in order to retire. Want to invest so I can retire as early as possible. So here I just prompted ChatGPT with a very basic, honest thing. The thing I like to keep in mind about ChatGPT is that it is not a crystal ball. It's not going to tell you how to do these things. It's just going to guide you. And not everything is going to be accurate. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And the other thing you need to remember is it is extremely positive because they want you coming back to the app. So it's going to say stuff like, welcome to the USA. It's going to be really nice. And you need to keep that in mind. But just remember, it's just a machine. You're using it for something else. So going through it tells me I have a FIRE number, which is called Financial Independence Retire Early. So people typically don't retire as early as possible. They try and retire at 65 or whenever their pension kicks in. So it's explaining to me how to generate a FIRE number, and it's giving me an example of $6,000 a month. It's giving me that because I put this in earlier and tested it out at $72,000 a year. And it's telling me how much I'm going to need to retire and saying that's quite conservative. And then it's giving me account options that I can use and building an investment strategy that I can use as well, deciding on a timeline, and then optimizing. So these are the things that it's then saying it needs from me in order to finalize a plan. So I'm going to copy all of that and I'm going to paste it back so that I can answer. I'm 26, my target retirement age, let's say 45, and we're just playing around, so we'll figure it out later. My target monthly spending in retirement is going to be about $6,000. That's what I currently spend right now in expenses month to month. And I think when I retire, I will probably live somewhere slightly cheaper than San Francisco. So my groceries as well as my rent or my living costs will likely be lower, but I'll probably spend a little bit more on things like travel. So I want to make sure that I have a pretty healthy number that I'm going to spend every month. In terms of investing right now, I automatically invest $350 a week, which is $1,400 a month, and sometimes a bonus of $500 to $1,000. Because some months I just have extra money. And when I do have that extra money, I like to put it all into my investing account. It's asking if I have access to a 401k. This is something that's really important to ask your employer about. If you have a 401k match, that's where you should go first with your money. I don't have access to that, so I'm going to say no. And how much did I bring over from Canada to invest? It has been a year since I moved from Canada, so I don't remember exactly how much money I brought over, but let's just say for the sake of simplicity that I had 60K USD. And then I'm going to send that to ChatGPT and it's going to think about it. So it's giving me this whole plan. It typically, unfortunately, provides a ton of information as you go, which is really great, but sometimes I just need small, short answers so that I don't have a ton of information to digest all at once. So here it's summarizing everything that I said. It's come up with the expected annual return. That's basically what you expect to return in the stock market annually. 8% is just generally understood as the rate. It's then also giving me different amounts I'm investing. If I only invest my $350 a week that I'm investing, I would hit my retirement number at 47. If I do the 2.4, so every month I have $1,000 extra dollars, I could actually retire 5 years earlier. It also tells me what accounts I want to invest in. So I do invest in a Roth IRA. Every year I put $7,000 in as soon as I can. And then the brokerage account, that's what I typically use now because I'm only allowed $14,000 in my Roth since I've only been in America in 2024 and 2025. And then HSA, I am not eligible for an HSA. You might be. So you can ask ChatGPT about that if that's the case. It's also telling me a very simple mix of things that I want to invest in, which is great, and options to retire earlier, as well as a summary action plan. But I want to get into kind of the specifics of it. And obviously, ChatGPT is not going to think of things that a normal human would think of. For example, I would maybe like to buy a house at some point, and maybe I'd like to have children at some point Bitcoin as well. So that's going to significantly impact my finances and it's going to change my retirement age. So let's say, what if I want to buy a house and I need to use 50K towards a down payment when I'm 30? So this is me pressure testing the plan that ChatGPT has provided for me. So I'm throwing a curveball at it and making it alter that plan and make sure that it's considering a real human and what's actually going on in my life. Basically, what it's saying is if I have $1,900 a month to invest and I want 50K saved in 4 years, I should probably start putting $1,000 a month into a house fund and $900 into retirement instead of pushing all of this into retirement. And then it says something like this, how it affects retirement. Let's say you invest 60K now. Pause for 4 years and then resume, I will still hit my goal. So if I put all the money that I have liquid from Canada into American investing accounts, I don't invest anything else for 4 years, but then continue investing after I've purchased my home, I will still have the opportunity to retire in my 40s. I would delay retirement by about 2 years, it says, but then I would also own a home. But the other thing it's not taking into account is that I will probably start investing more as I age. Theoretically, I should earn more. I expect my salary to go up. So I need to think about that as well. So this is a bit bold of me to say, but considering I'm going to increase my salary every year, I'm assuming I'm going to get a 10% raise. So if I get a 10% raise, but all my lifestyle stuff stays the same, then I should be able to have a 10% annual increase in investing. So I'm saving money right now to save for a house, but then it's showing a year by year plan where my monthly investments go up. So this would mean by 45, I miraculously have $7,000 a month to save. So obviously, again, there's probably some parts of this that are not true, but it would shorten when I can retire. So then I would retire at 43, which in my opinion doesn't change a lot, 43 versus 47. So then you can ask alternate situations. So what if I just don't invest my money? What if I just put money away continuously in accounts, in a high yield savings account, which is about 4.5% interest? I could still do it. It would take me until I'm 56. So there would be a significant delay if I didn't invest my money in the stock market. So here's it giving me now. It knows that I've gone through 3 different types of paths in terms of increasing contributions, regular investing, or just putting my money into a high yield savings account. And then it kind of tells me that I really shouldn't do that and what I should think about. And again, a lot of stuff on ChatGPT, you need to think and remember that AI is an amalgamation of information that is fed into the AI. It's not always going to tell you the truth. It's probably generally guiding you into the right thing. It's like when your teacher tells you that Wikipedia is not a reliable source. It probably kind of is, but sometimes it's dead wrong. But you should always validate it with people around you, your friends who know more about money. But I think this gives a lot of people a great way to start learning about this stuff. So the next thing I could ask, because I truly don't know, is what if I want to have kids? And that's a very broad question for me to ask ChatGPT, but typically it will be able to pull from other people's information that's been on the internet. It's going to show me how much more money I'm going to need, how to save for their college and all that kind of stuff if I keep it very, very broad. So that's what I've done. So what it's estimating is I'm going to need about $450,000 per child, which is overwhelming. When you think about the amount of money I've probably earned in my whole life, that's probably about it. So it's making assumptions here for me that I'm going to have 2 kids. And then it's telling me that I can still retire at the same age if I increase my investing. That's kind of setting something off for me. I'm not really recognizing that. How is it that I can save $500,000 to $1 million more when I'm not actually increasing anything? So asking that question of like, how? Why is that even possible? And it's kind of telling me how I can do it. And that's just my phrasing. So it's telling me all these things about moving jobs and increasing my investing. I didn't ask it. I wasn't curious about getting a better job and how to improve myself so that I can afford to have children. I was asking, how does that math work? Why is having children only delaying my retirement by 2 years? That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense when they just told me that I'm going to need $500,000 per child. So if I'm thinking here about the math, initially it said I would need $1.8 million. And now it's saying I'm going to need $2.3 million. So that's only $500,000 difference. Okay, so here I have probably caught ChatGPT being wrong about something. And that's super normal. It happens all the time. But again, at least I can fix the math. I said, look, you said each kid is going to cost $500,000, but you only increased my portfolio by $500K. That doesn't make any sense. So it agrees. That's a little light. At $6,000 a month and $72,000 a year, I need $1.8 million in order to retire myself, just myself. Adding kids, $250K per child, and then 100 to 150 for college. So times that by 2, I now need $700,000 to $800,000. Here it's estimating that I can still retire with 1.8 million and keep a cash flow reserve for expenses because my salary will increase, but I can still invest into my retirement, which makes sense. I don't need to have the full 750K, but if I want to fully retire and raise 2 kids without working, so stopping as soon as I start having children, presumably, it still only says my retirement age is 46 to 48. Okay, so I've pressure tested it. I've gone through a bunch of different scenarios. I've acted like I'm going to buy a house, have a couple kids, and I still want to retire as young as possible based on the savings that I'm doing now and the lifestyle that I live now. So I've gone through all of the steps. So now I need a way to actually put that into practice. That's the last thing I'm going to ask it to do. I'm going to ask, how do I go about doing this? What can I get done this week? How do I review it? Can you build me a plan? And we'll see what it comes up with. So it's created this table for me, and my plan includes a house down payment at 30. I'm increasing my investment contributions by 10% annually after age 30, and I'm factoring in the cost of raising 2 kids starting at ages 32 and 34. So it's kind of really like a game of MASH that I'm playing right now, but it really helps you picture what you have to get done in order to retire at the age that you want. So it's factoring that in and factoring in how much I'm investing as well. It still leaves me with these kind of unrealistic numbers that my annual contributions between 42 and 45 are basically what a normal person earns in a salary. So those are very high. Fingers crossed that I can actually get there, but here's my plan. Here are the numbers that I have to save and the numbers that I want to hit. So then you can ask, what should I do this week to achieve this? And it's going to build me a checklist. It's going to build me a plan. It's telling me where I need to open things based on what I said. So for example, I said I cannot do a 401k match. I don't have that. So it didn't even put that in. It's telling me I need to move my money and invest it in ETFs. I don't like to do that. I want to invest in stocks. That's something I could say. I want to be a little more aggressive in terms of picking individual stocks, but this is a great idea too. My monthly contributions saying that I should invest into my Roth, which is already maxed. So I'm going to invest it in my brokerage. And I'm also going to start building up my house fund. And then I'm also going to open a high yield savings account for my house down payment and transfer $1,000 a month into that. And I'm going to keep it as a separate account from any other account that I have. So for example, I use Mercury for my high yield savings for my emergency fund. So I could open up a second account in Mercury, just call it down payment, and make sure that I'm saving my $1,000 a month like I told ChatGPT I was going to. And then I can track progress, and it's saying I can use a fire calculator or a spreadsheet that it can build. So it's going to give me a bunch of different things, and then it wants me to do monthly check-ins and optional things about more things that I can learn. And here's my plan. So that's how you use ChatGPT to predict the future. I think all in all that ChatGPT is a great tool. I don't think it's always accurate, but I think it gives us optionality and planning that we've never had before. So I think it's worth every single person experimenting in it and trying to understand what their life could look like by having like a little mathematician that knows a bunch of stuff about finance right in front of them. If you're curious about AI and you don't know where to start, I also have a free download linked in the description. So thank you so much.